Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I hope that you are well, and if you are a returning viewer to this channel, I also wish the exact same. Now in today's video, I'm going to be exploring to you what I have learned since I have started teaching. So from those of you who have watched my previous videos, you might have a little bit of an insight towards how long I've been teaching. And if you are new to obviously watching my videos, you possibly might not know this information. So I've been teaching for, this will be my 4th year now, including my PGCE year of teaching. So I am still very new to the game. However, even in those 4 years, there is a lot, and I can't stress a lot, that I have learned throughout this phase of time, because it is unreal to say how much you can learn from just that short space of time. And obviously 4 years is a long time, but if I think about the person and the teacher that I was 4 years ago, I am definitely a different teacher now. I am still the same person, I've still kept my same personality, but the thing that has actually adapted and changed is the type of teacher that I am within the classroom. And within this video today, I'm going to be taking you down kind of my own reflection and my own insight towards what I have learnt from teaching so far. So obviously, of course, I've written a list, because when I started to create this video, I actually thought it would be really important to write a list of things that I've learnt, and I've tried to summarise it into 10 points. So let's just open this book up. Number 1. Teaching doesn't become easier, but you become more confident. This is something that you hear a lot. It's something that I hear a lot from my colleagues, teachers that I've known, that they are really honest with me, and they say if they've got 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years worth of teaching experience, that they actually always say to me when I ask, do you feel like teaching has got easier? And they say no. There's always going to be challenges, but you become more confident. And that is 100% the same message that I'm going to give right now, because it's something that very much I can connect with. I feel like within the 4 years that I've been teaching, and I always include my PGCE year, because actually that year you are becoming the teacher that you want to be, not that you're going to become, because I think it's difficult to master that in your PGCE year. And I know that in those first few months, I thought I was confident, but thinking back, I really wasn't as confident as I am today. So it's being mindful of that. It's not going to become easier, but I think you become more confident. You become more confident with who you are, you become more confident with your own skill sets, you become more confident with being in the classroom. So that's definitely the first thing that I have definitely taken away from the last 4 years of teaching. Second, you figure out what suits you. So this very much comes with the idea that when you do your PGCE year and even your NQT year, you're still trying to figure out the type of teacher that you are. Now, I know what type of teacher I am. I still feel like there's areas of development, but I'm starting to figure out as a teacher what suits me and what doesn't suit me. And what I mean by that is that I have realised what style of teaching suits me, the way that I deliver lessons, the way that I plan lessons, the way that I approach my pupils within the classroom, the way that I approach fellow teachers, and even what suits me being at home. Because the one thing, I'm going to talk about this in a later point, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself, but the one thing that I think a lot of people who aren't teachers possibly forget is that your job doesn't stay within that typical 8:30 or 3:30 day. If your teaching day does, I congratulate you, because you are doing something that I have not mastered yet. However, our teacher role is kind of continuous, and a lot of the time it comes home with us. So I've learned what suits me through doing things in different ways. And sometimes I've done things and I've gone, that really doesn't suit me. And sometimes I've tried something new and gone, actually, that really suits the type of person that I am. Number 3, plan for the bigger picture. This was something that I learned early on, and this is something that I will always do. I learned this in my PGCE year within a few months, and it is something that I will always encourage people who are starting off their teaching journey, that don't try to fall into the expectation within yourself that you should be planning daily. Now, some people might disagree with this, but I don't think planning day by day is as effective as perhaps planning for the longer picture and adapting as you go. This is something that I tend to do. So what I tend to do is that I plan, for example, for the bigger picture. So I create a big picture idea of where I want my classes to be, perhaps by the end of the month, the end of the term, or for example, the end of the year. And I really think about, okay, so I've got that year, I've got that month, I've got that term of the bigger picture where I want them to be. So actually, why don't I plan my content now to suit that? Now, that doesn't mean that things won't change as time goes on. That doesn't mean that you're not going to adapt things later on. And that doesn't mean you have to sit there and slog away for days and days on end creating all your lesson materials for the entire year before you even start. However, I couldn't stress enough how much easier it becomes when you learn how to plan wisely and how to structure things wisely. And this is something I'm going to create another video towards, because I learned how to plan effectively during my second placement in my PGCE year, and the advice and the tips that I was given from my mentor has really stuck with me today, because actually it not only saves a lot of time, but it saves a lot of stress. So planning for the bigger picture will 100% help you in the long run. Number 4, be prepared to adapt. So obviously this links with my last one, and you're probably thinking, wait a minute, you've just said to plan for the bigger picture, now you're saying be prepared to adapt. They work hand in hand. I can plan a scheme and I can plan my whole lessons perhaps for a term or a month for a particular year group. However, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be completely rigid with sticking to that to the T. No, that means that that is there as a guideline and as a base point for my journey. However, when you're in the classroom and you're delivering that content, I've realised it a lot of the time that I've gone, wow, that really didn't work. Or wait a minute, I actually need to spend a bit longer on that concept than I maybe thought of. Or even, oh my gosh, they breeze through that. I don't need to spend as much time on it. Lots of things like materials might need to change, or the length of time. And this is based upon you and your perception of what the pupils need in front of you. So adapting essentially is adapting for the needs of the pupils in front of you. And really, you can plan for the bigger picture, like I've said, which will save time, but actually making those minor adjustments based upon the pupils in front of you is something that is really key. 6, don't be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't matter if you think it is something that is really perhaps silly to ask, or something that probably you think, oh my gosh, I bet everybody knows this. Ask for help. And that doesn't just mean ask for help in regards to how to do something. If you are struggling, ask for help. If something is too much, ask for help. Now obviously this very much depends upon how comfortable you feel as a person, and perhaps the colleagues that you have around you and your support network. But reaching out can really not only help your perspective towards how education works and how teachers can work alongside one another, but also it really helps you on a mental perspective, because I know, and I'll be really honest, that there's been times that I've struggled and I've thought, well, this is a bit too much, or I'm not too sure what this means, or is there a better way that you know how to deliver this? So ask for help from your colleagues. It doesn't matter if you've got a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of experience, everyone from time to time is going to ask for help, and don't be afraid to do so yourself. Number 7, being honest and fair with yourself. So be honest and fair with yourself in regards to your own expectations and what you can and can't do within that particular time. So let's be real, not every day is going to be as perfect as you might want it to. And let's be honest with yourself that there are going to be days where you make mistakes, and it happens. And there is no such thing as the perfect teacher. It's like I said previously, you just become more confident with yourself, but that doesn't mean you're not going to make those mistakes from time to time. And this is something that I still have been learning to do, is that actually being fair with myself and going, wait a minute, that wasn't the best thing, but how can I move forward? How can I solve this? Or being really honest with myself and going, oh, actually, I'm not too sure about how that works. So rather than avoiding it, let's try to tackle it head on. Or even being fair with yourself and saying, whoa, hold on a minute. I've got to be fair with myself and not just critique myself all the time and think about the things that I have done amazingly well. And it doesn't matter if that is one thing, 2 things, or 100 things. Be fair and honest with yourself from time to time. Number 8, you are not your job. Let me repeat that. You are not your job. You love teaching, and hopefully that's the reason why you have made this your job. But I cannot emphasize enough that teaching is your job. You are not your job. And sometimes, and this has happened to me before, that my life just becomes my job. And that's because of how much teaching requires of you. It's a difficult job, and it's not for everyone. And like I've said previously, you can't always leave it at the door. It's something that a lot of the time comes home with you, mentally, physically, or emotionally. But try to find in your best way, and I will be providing some tips on how I try to do this. Try to remind yourself that it is not who you are. It is just part of who you are. Number 9, and this very much links to my last point, that balance is key. So finding that work and home style balance is really, really key towards your own mental health. And this is something that is a very, very popular question that I have been asked towards, how do I maintain that professional and home life? How do I really split or find the balance between the two? And it is difficult. It very much depends upon the style of person you are as well, and what you are comfortable and not comfortable in doing. I've also found as well that being mindful of, you can say to yourself, and this is something that I do still now, and it's something that I'm working towards, that I might say to myself that, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example, I'm not going to do any work when I come home. Okay, that's fantastic. But then when you come home, how are you actually spending your time? And because sometimes I'm so tired, I am just kind of sat there in my lounge watching TV, and that's how I'm just spending my time. I'm only spending my time resting and not doing things that I would want to be doing in my spare time. Balance is key in the sense of not just thinking about how can I separate the two, but with your personal life, make it the best that you can make it. Do the things that you enjoy doing, because then when you go towards your teacher, so your professional life, you can actually really find that balance towards something being so hectic in your professional and keeping yourself busy in your personal life. That's something that I would recommend, definitely, when it comes towards balance. And setting those boundaries for yourself and sticking to them. If you have a boundary that, for example, you do not work on Friday evenings, Stick to it, no matter what, unless you are comfortable to break it. But in all honesty, stick to the boundaries that you are setting. This is something that I'm really, really firm with myself. That, for example, one rule that I have said ever since my NQT year is that I do not work on Saturdays at all. I'm really firm with that. That I do no work towards school, no planning, no emails, no reading, nothing. And I try to tell myself as well on Saturday, and it's difficult to do, but not bring it up in conversation, because I'm somebody that will very much stay in my own head. That if I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it, and then I'm feeling guilty about it, and it's constantly on my mind. Stick to your boundaries the best that you can. And last but not least, don't be anyone but yourself. You're going to find that in your NQT, your PGCE, and even still now, that you might compare yourselves with other people or feel like you've got to be this type of teacher that other people expect you to be. But that doesn't mean anything, in the sense that actually they've hired you for you. You've gone up against other teachers who have wanted the same role, but actually they have employed you because of who you are. And that doesn't stop the minute that you get the job or you walk into that classroom. I found that actually my pupils really respect and can connect with me more as a teacher when I'm myself. I'm not trying to be a teacher that they know that I'm not, because actually they connect more with you, but perhaps they connect more with the subject. I'm somebody that is very bubbly, and I am a very practical person, and I will describe things a lot in creative detail and provide that support, and that's part of who I am. I direct things. I'm a drama teacher, so it works nicely, and my personality is a certain way within the classroom, and the pupils connect with that. I'm not saying that all pupils are going to love you as a teacher, but actually stick to who you are, because you shouldn't be a different person in work than you are when you are at home. Obviously, keep it professional. I'm not saying that, go in there and be completely unprofessional as a member of staff. But what I mean is, don't forget who you really are. Because what's the point in trying to be somebody who you're not? There's no point. Just because it's a job doesn't mean that you should be any different than the person you are right now. So that's it for this video. I hope this has kind of been a useful reflection or an insight towards 10 things that I have learned throughout my time in teaching. As I've said before, I'm going to try to upload videos as often as I can, and especially with the current climate of things that are going on, and I know there's a lot of worries and difficulties when it comes towards teaching, I'm hopefully going to provide those videos that if you are an NQT, PGCE, or even an RQT like me, or even somebody who's been teaching longer than me, that this is something that can be useful towards you and your teaching progression. Like I've always said, I'm not a guru, so I'm more than happy to take any suggestions or comments in the box below. Please feel free to like this video. It just provides me with the awareness towards it's being useful. As always, keep it up. You're working really, really hard as teachers, and this job is definitely difficult. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.